You're watching Drake Queen Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Naomi here from Drake Queen Gaming, and some of you on Twitter, The Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Coffee Buns. Alright y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm saying you were up, and let's go. I believe this is the part where everyone turns into furries. Alright. Man, you ever think she wishes she had employees who were less pessimistic than us? I bet she wishes a lot of things were different about the cafe. She grabs the door handle and yanks it open, trusting I'll slip in behind her. When we enter, our boss is already standing next to the counter with Naomi, cheerfully demonstrating just how much better she is at being a morning person, despite the fact we all work the early shift. Miss Blumenthal, Mr. Bianco, thank you so much for coming in early today. No problem. Yeah, happy to help. Hey guys! She waves and smiles. Her big long doe lashes curl up as her eyes shut into crescents. I don't look over to see Ash's eyes roll, but can imagine them just fine. So, as you might have guessed, this is concerning the appointment I had with Miss Reeves the other day. She has offered to help us with a pilot venture for the shop. Would you like to tell them yourself? Oh yeah, sure! She turns to both of us. So, I was talking with the other co-op members at Barlow's, and we've got a little bit of excess inventory that we were going to figure out what to do with. And they, of course, know you lowered your order recently, and they like you as one of their pastry clients, and I put in a good word for you, of course. This time I do turn my head to see Ash roll her eyes. And so, after asking your boss what she thought, I got permission to bring along the surprise, and, well, we're offering your shop some of the kimono tea. She delivers it all like an applause line, which just makes the silence afterwards all the more heavy. Like, to sell? No, Miss Reeves' employer doesn't have nearly that amount of excess inventory, and the suppliers can't keep up with demand and aren't taking on new clients. This would strictly be for employees. The following silence is even longer. So we drink it? If you'd like to take advantage of the opportunity, yes. Ash and I turn towards each other, confused. So we just, transform every time we work? Yeah, exactly! Ash scratches her head. I mean, I guess I've been curious about trying the tea. But what's the, reason? Well, as you know, business has been quite slow recently. I'd hoped the Turkish coffee service on Sundays would be a compelling differentiator. But that's had less of an impact than I'd hoped, and I can't be serving more than one day a week. Without something to set us apart from the other cafes in the vicinity, I fear Awakenings won't maintain enough business to stay viable. But there are other kimono tea shops in town. Wouldn't we be competing with them now? And they actually serve the tea. Those cafes do indeed have furry staff, but those establishments are primarily for serving tea. We'd simply be using furry staff as a method for getting people in the door. Our main attraction will always be the quality of coffee we provide, and at a much lower price point than a full-on kimono cafe without the need for reservations. New Greenshire is basically furry mecca in the USA. Tons of people are going to need a place to get a normal coffee after they hit up all the usual spots. You'll probably get a lot of customers who just want the fun of being served by furry staff, but don't want to deal with the lines and stuff at our place in Brazos. I hadn't expected this pitch when I woke up this morning, or how much sense it would make on its own way. So, wait, whose idea was this in the first place? Oh, it was hers initially. Ash and I narrow our eyes on our boss. So you wanted to work after drinking the tea. Boss clears her throat. Like you, I was curious about trying some of the tea for myself. I hear it's quite helpful for improving productivity on top of its more obvious effects. So, do you two want to try? I look over at Ash. I'm not gonna be the one to respond first, and she seems more on board with the idea anyway. Well, I was gonna give it a shot at some point, and I guess this way I don't have to pay for it. Excellent. And you, Mr. Bianco? All three of them turn towards me, and my heart skips a beat. This is kind of sudden. There's no pressure if you don't want to. This is simply an experiment we're trying out for now. The relief I feel is colored by a subtle regret that the decision wasn't taken out of my hands. So you two ladies want to have some right now? Certainly. Yeah, why not? Naomi picks up two thermoses that I hadn't noticed resting on the counter. I've got 2 batches set up for you based on how far you'd like to take the transformation. There's a lot of graduation with how far you can go, but there's 2 main plateaus to reach. We call them Kimono Mimi and Anthro in the business. The first usually gets you ears and a tail depending on the animal, while Anthro is the full deal. Total body coverage and facial reconfiguration. I'll have the full strength. I don't want to turn out like some cutesy anime cat girl. In for a penny, in for a pound. Naomi nods enthusiastically and sets down one of the thermoses before grabbing 2 mugs. So, you two haven't had it before, and it's usually faster for people who have gone through at least one transformation. But we've developed a brewing technique that'll jumpstart things for you. The scent is overwhelmingly pungent the moment she unscrews the top. All of us recoil in surprise, Ash more than the rest of us. Naomi pours the tea into the mugs. This should be enough to get you to Anther without too much delay. And this is without additives, correct? Yep, just straight kimono. If you turn into something that's inconvenient for work, you can try again tomorrow with something that will turn you into something predictable. Boss takes her mug from Naomi and brings her nose to the mug, inhaling deeply. I can hear a subtle, satisfied sigh when she does. And for you. Ash takes her own mug and leans over to take a sniff. Her eyebrows shoot up and she jerks her head away. So this will be our default form? Yep. I always recommend people start with their default transformation. It's the one that's the most you, after all. Better to play around with different forms after that, I feel. Is there any particular pattern for what people turn into? Naomi closes her eyes, sets her hands on her hips, and launches into a professional spiel she's clearly given several times. Playing a game about serving coffee and drinking coffee at the same time? Okay. Kimono tea is the only known magical substance on Earth, and such is fairly resistant to objective study. Our attempts to establish rules are more akin to alchemy than standard science. Even so, we have noticed some broad patterns that generally hold true. The tea takes into account both one's self-conception and one's true nature and attempts to reconcile the two in some way, even changing people's bodies in ways that don't involve the animal transformation. On top of that, one's inherited cultural connotations for animals plays a role. A cowardly American and a courageous Frenchman might each turn into a chicken based on their perception of the animal. And we can't ignore the fact that tea seems to have a bit of sense of humor. People very often turn to animals that relate to their name. Ash looks over at me with an annoyed expression. Oh, that's crap. Leo's gonna turn into a lion, and I think he's hot shit. Hold up my hands in defense. Hey, I don't know what I'm going to. What I turn into. I'm sure you'd make a very dashing lion if that's indeed what you be. Ash grumbles to herself. Fucking teacher's pet. Not unless he has some tea, too. Both Ash and our boss below. Good God, the hips on these women. Jesus. Are they sure they don't have kids already? My God. Both Ash and our boss blow the steam off, wafting off their mugs, each waiting for some kind of permission to take their first sip. So it's quicker the hotter it is, so I drink it as quickly as you can without hurting yourself. The two of them clutch their mugs, steeling themselves. Well, to the successive awakenings. And to my continued employment. They lift their mugs before pinching their eyes shut and taking their first swig. Ash pinches her eyes and crinkles her nose. Phew, damn. I can't believe folks line up for this stuff at your place. I mean, I guess it does what they're paying for, but fuck. Miss Blumenthal, I know there aren't any customers in the shop at the moment, but if you could watch your language, please. Sorry, it's just this stuff is pungent. I mean, it's not bad, but this is definitely an acquired taste. Really, I find it quite pleasant. Naomi is once again ready for one of her canned recitations. Oh, she's so cute! This is one of the tea's more distinctive attributes. Its flavor is dependent on the drinker and based on the animal of their default transformation. The tea tastes very grassy to me, as you might guess. Interesting. I'd say mine is something of a brisk, wintry taste with pine and cedar. I don't know what mine is besides, I don't know, maybe licorice? It's just so damn sharp. She takes another long sip as if seeking more evidence, and our boss follows suit. They only come up for air a few more times before they empty their mugs. My, that's certainly invigorating. Invigoron! Oh, it's always Sunny reference. As pungent as the Albani berries themselves. Hi there, I'm Andy, and I'm a magical bean farmer. Yeah, I'm all hopped up. So my coworkers drink something a little less strong than this to start their shifts, and they'd already be transforming by now, but their bodies are already primed to change. It should start in a few minutes. Both of them nod and remain silent as they anticipate their changes. Each flitting glances at the backs of their hands or their noses to catch the first evidence of the shift. From my perspective, the difference is already profound. It's not like my boss is rarely enthusiastic about things, but I've never seen a sense of giddy anticipation override her distinctly professional demeanor. And Ash, well, I don't know if I've ever seen her truly excited by anything. It doesn't suit her general vibe, and there's not a lot to get excited about during a typical shift. But there's an unmistakable rapt excitement in her eyes. It's frankly unnerving to see it on a face I'm accustomed to facilitating between a scowl and a sardonic sneer. Oh, starting. Oh, whoa, I think something's happening. Both of them reach for their ears, intuiting or remembering that's usually the first thing to change. Indeed, I see a fringe of hair on each of their ears, dark gray for our boss and black for Ash. They each trace a finger along the ridge of their ear and a half shudder, half flinch at the sensation. Goodness, that's sensitive. Yeah, the first starts out real sensitive, but you get used to it. They don't have long to notice the changes before the next one starts. The tops of their ears look like they're pinched and pulled up. Fur grows around each of them quick enough that they don't look like elf ears stuck on the wrong way. Ash's ears stop just short of the top of her head with a mostly round shape, while the boss's continue higher and higher until they tower over her voluminous hair. Ah, you'll be mammals. That usually keeps things nice and simple. My boss prods at her ears, folding the sharp tips down over the interiors that are already so full of soft fur. What would you suppose I am? I'd give it a little bit more time. I wouldn't want to influence anything. Ash cups her hands over her ears to get a better idea of her shape and circumference. I don't know what these ones are. Bear something? The next change might give more clues. Both of them are too involved in their ears to look at their noses as they bunch up and their nostrils flare into slits. The surface of each of them roughens and darkens as they're pulled into two rough black nubs in the middle of their faces. Both are roughly triangular, though in harmony with their ears, Ash's is rounder. Oh, weird. I can kinda see it. She crosses her eyes and pokes at it. Ross is more delicate in her investigations. Ash's body pokes back as a few whiskers sprout from the base of her new nose and she retracts her hand. She notices me watching her transformation. How's it look, Bean? How's it look, Bean? Super intimidating or what? There's no way I'd tell her just how much her ears resemble a teddy bear's. It's really, interesting. She raises an eyebrow at me. Interesting, that's all. There's absolutely no description I could use that wouldn't result in more interrogation. It's just, different. Nothing more specific than that. I decide the best course of action is to clam up. Come now, no need to badger Mr. Bianco. Oh yeah, badger, that might be it. She pokes her ears again to recheck and our boss smiles at the potentially unintended joke, which means I see her fangs grow in. It goes slowly, taking maybe a full 30 seconds to go the 3/4 inch, but even the subtlest changes are arresting. Before too long, her body, her usually gentile smile contains a menacing edge. Watch out where you point those at herbivores, she gasps and covers her mouth. Gracious, I'm sorry. Ash pokes her own new fangs, which are shorter and more conical. And she's not going to be compelled to eat you or anything, is she? Nah, you have to take a lot before those kinds of instincts bubble up. You just need to be careful how you come across. I'll certainly try and be more conscientious then, though I suppose it might come in handy for more disruptive custom. Oops! Tail! She leans up enough to hear her shoes clack on her landing. Oh, right, waistbands down, ladies. Gotta give those tails a little room. Huh. I turn away before Ash can finish shooting me a dirty look as the two of them pull down the rear of their skirt waistbands a few inches. You'll want to get something with a slit cut out if you're going to do this on a regular basis, but a day without shouldn't be the worst. There are a couple places around town that make furry-appropriate alterations. The necessity of their action is immediately apparent as I see their tails appear from behind their backs. Both of them turn around as their tails emerge inch by inch. They're the most conclusive evidence of their transformation so far. The boss's is bushy, the same dark gray as her ears but with a white patch underneath. It comes to a point that it looks like a painter's brush and is so thick that that's about the width of her waist at its widest part. She pulls her tail in front of her and runs her fingers through it. My, this would be a wolf's tail, wouldn't it? Yep, looks like it. A classic choice. She turns toward me and winks, confirming she called it before she even handed her the mug. Ash's tail isn't far behind, and it's even thicker than the boss's wolf tail, or maybe more accurately, it's broader. The fur makes the tail wider than her shoulders and emerges from her waistband like paper from an old dot matrix printer. The edges are the same black as her ears, though it's not too long before two stark white strips appear. Oh, that's a skunk tail, huh? That explained the taste. I'm able to catch yet another wink from Naomi at the revelation. Both tails reach their full length as each of them squints as they get used to having an entirely new limb. The boss's wags relax behind her while Ash's stays mostly upright, the fur fanning behind her. Okay, these last changes come in pretty quick, so get ready. I feel the changes before I see them as their hands shoot to the small of their backs. Something is happening around the base of their tails, and it's not too long before I see it elsewhere. Fur spreads from the places where the transformation has already left its mark. I see it crawling out from their tails, ears, and nose. It shows up on Ash's exposed waist where black frames a cool white stomach. The slate gray of Boss's fur spreads across her forehead, peeking down the bridge of her nose while the rest of her face is covered in milky white. Shoulders and arms are covered with fur in contrasted patterns distinct to each of them. Ash is covered by more of her inky fur, while our boss features lighter tones. In fact, those tones seem to be spreading to her hair. Whoa, the tea changes hair color too? That's one of the weirder aspects of the tea. It seems to have a sense of aesthetics to match your fur pattern better. Is mine changing? She pulls at a few strands, taking care not to upset her carefully sculpted hair. Just getting lighter, like more silver. Boss frowns. It's not making me look older, is it? No, it looks great, very distinguished. The choice of words doesn't entirely negate her concern, but she seems more at ease. Is mine doing anything? On cue, the color drains from the dyed streaks in her hair as though bleach was seeping down the strands. It leaves her with white bands to match her tail. You're losing the blue in your hair. She frowns and her fangs digging the bottom of her lip. Fuck, I'm gonna have to re-dye that. How does it change synthetic color like that anyway? Naomi shrugs. It's magic. And dye gets restored, at least it does for one of my coworkers. Uh-oh. Alright, I gotta pause it right there, y'all. Looks like I've got thumbnail material. Yeah, look at that. Pretty furry ladies. Alright, anyway, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout-out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you all for all you do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silverman. Thank you for going a bit above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you to our gold tier patron, Trezum Guy. You're awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to Ultimate Tier. Anyway, if y'all want to get your names in the credits, get access to all of our Not Safe for Work contents as little as $5 already. I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!